Hey there, Rivermen fans. I'm Jason Ruff. Welcome back to another episode of Trudel's Take, presented by Premier Epoxy. Jason Ruff joined once again with Rivermen head coach John Guy Trudel. Guy, the Rivermen have had a challenging couple of weeks. You've had a chance to look and see through video and in person. What are some things that you like that the Rivermen are doing, and what are some things that you look at and say, I need to clean that up?
Well, one, our power play, I think it's on and off. We had some long days last week. I think we had two great power plays on Friday. Scored 2 goals out of 3, and then on Saturday we got back to our lazy tendencies, playing on the outside, not rotating the right way. So it's just a matter with new personnel to put everything back together again this week, and making sure we keep working at it every day. And then a lot of great things, though. I know all the results don't always show the game, but even last game, I thought everybody bought into our neutral zone forecheck, our D zone coverage. We did not give much at all. Now there's of course little things offensively we have to clean up. I don't think we're driving enough. I think we're an outside team a little bit right now. So we're going to keep working at it. Like I said, when you're losing a lot of personnel with injuries and call-ups, you start, you have a new group that comes in, and you have to kind of reteach and redo all the right things, and chemistry goes away until you rebuild it back. And the boys are at that point right now. I think they're starting to gel with the new guys coming in and stuff like that. So it's for me, it's always, you try to get the positive and everything, and there's a lot of positives. So,
well, speaking on those positives and those newcomers, Brennan Blazak, one of the newcomers, recently arrived for the Rivermen. You've had a chance to see him in action for a couple of games. What about his game do you like?
His speed, his tenacity. And we got to remember he was out for a while with injury, so it takes him a long time. And then in Fayetteville, he's only playing 8 or 9 minutes as a 10th forward, coming in from that long injury. So for him to get back, his legs underneath him and all the little things. But we know what we have in him. We're really happy. He's a great leader, great teammate, but he also has that speed. He can kill penalties, a great bumper on the power play. So there's a lot of things you can do with him, and we're extremely happy. And we know, it hasn't clicked maybe offensively. He hit 2 posts, I think, on Friday, but I think once he gets his legs underneath him and he's used to playing those 19, 20 minutes a game, I think he's going to be a special player for us.
Another good addition for the Rivermen, Spencer Kennedy, maybe not having the speed of a Brendan Blazak, but boy, oh boy, does he make up with it with physicality and intensity.
Yeah, and not just that, he's an extremely smart player. I know it's not always pretty. At 6'5", sometimes your skating takes a little bit longer, but he's a very, very smart player. Understands the game, understands when he has to do his job, when he doesn't have to do his job. I'm not afraid at all playing him 5-on-5. I know he didn't get a lot of minutes on the Saturday, but he's an extremely deceptive kind of player, because you think he has a special role, but he just doesn't do that role. He's actually very good 5-on-5 in all 3 zones. We just got to get his skating underneath him, but we're extremely happy to have him here in Peoria.
When you look at the Rivermen goals this past weekend, 4 of the 5 came from rookies. What are the good and the maybe not so good things about having most of your goal scorers being rookies right now?
Well, we talk about it. I think, you can't just keep pushing it. I think our older guys are vets. They know what they have to do. Sometimes, you get in the season and you change lines, with Wids and Gillette and Nolan and Ernst and all those guys getting hurt and called up. You sometimes you're not right. Sometimes you're playing a situation where, yes, you do have to do a little bit more, and some players are just not comfortable in that until they find their steps and they do the right thing. So it takes a little while, and I'm not really upset. I think, the Bears, the Hags are still playing the same way, but once you're missing that many players, they have to step up a little bit, and they will. It's just taking a little bit longer. I
think people underestimate just how the impact of multitude of injuries or call-ups have on a team. Like you mentioned, Widmar's been called up. Jordan Ernst is still on the IR, same as Mike Gillette, as well as others. Ryan Nolan's been in and out of the IR. That has a tremendous effect, the lineup that not only you as a coaching staff have to navigate, but also guys who have built up chemistry and rapport, all of a sudden that's gone. They have to play with someone else.
Yeah, it is. And you know me, I don't like to make excuses because, I always say your injured guys are not part of the team anymore and you have to win with what you have. And I'm okay. I still think we have a tremendous team.
Yep.
But it's just like you said, it's more the chemistry thing. We had a great chemistry with Winmar, Gillette, and Nolan. They're all out now. Ernst was great with Bearsy or great with JM, and now he's out. So it's kind of, you try to find those new connections going. I think we're almost there connection-wise. I just, like I said, I thought we played a really good overall game, but little things offensively, we're not getting to the inside of people enough. So, we're going to keep working at it, and I know it's coming. It's just a matter of time.
Well, Rivermen don't have as much time, I'm sure they like. They have the Thursday education game coming up at 10:30 a.m. Another early one. This will be the second early education game for the Rivermen this year. As a player, how did you deal with those early 10:30 a.m. starts?
The good thing, it's pretty much practice time, so you're used to practicing at that time. So that's the good thing. The bad thing is practice. You cannot duplicate a game in practice. So it is tough, especially, to get those guys. And for us, it's about preparing mentally all this week. When we get on the ice, we'll start right away with battle drills because that's what games are, and kind of getting ready that way. But, it's a tough game. But as a player, you have to play them. They're fun for the kids. They're a great experience for them. So you still have to give them a show and play as hard as you can. And then you always tell yourself, I can't wait for my nap. Though you just go all out for 3 periods, and then you're looking forward because it's such a different schedule. And the hockey players are creatures of habits. Professional players actually are creatures of habits. They have everything down to the T in what they do game day. So it's a little different, but like I said, we don't like to find excuses. We'll do what we have to do to try to bring the win home.
Over 8,000 expected this Thursday for the Rivermen education game. Should be one of the largest in recent memory. Players feel that when they have a big crowd, they feel that energy, and it does have a impact on their play on the ice, does it not?
It does. Like I said, the 10:30 is a little different. It's early
Fair.
morning, but yes, when you have big crowds, it makes a big difference, and it's fun actually to be on the bench. There's more life on the bench, and it brings a lot of energy. So hopefully we can just grasp that energy in the morning and pull ourselves up for 3 periods and give them a good show.
Those kids yell too, man. Holy cow!
Those are loud kids, but again, I look at it as, I have kids of my own, and it's a great experience for them to kind of come and have 8,000 other kids and screaming and just being kids for about 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. I think it's phenomenal for them also.
We all love this great game of hockey, and a lot of us got involved with it as kids. And, I always look at these education games as a way to introduce the sport to kids who maybe not have had a chance to come out to a Rivermen game or what have you. Looking back, I was thinking about this question last night. I wanted to ask you, looking back at your childhood, what is a hockey-related memory that you have as a kid that really sticks out to you, that really solidified your love for the game?
It was different in Canada.
I know it was different. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking.
So as soon as you're born, that's pretty much all we have, especially in the little cities up north where I lived. And, you could not wait for Saturday night. Hockey in Canada, and then all you did was you bought cards, you bought hockey mats. That's what you grew up doing, and then every single night you played street hockey. So for us, it was kind of a different, it was every single day right in front of your face. That's all we saw. Like, you take the Journal de Montréal that we get up north, like you'd get at least 10 or 11 pages all on the Montreal Canadiens. Yep. So it's all hockey all the time. So for us, it's just what you're brought up with. And there's not a specific moment. It's just that we played it, I think, since the age of 3, every single day, either on the ice, in the backyard, in the streets, in tennis courts, whatever we could find a spot to play hockey. So for us, it was all day, every day, just hockey. And that's really the only sport. Of course, you played baseball, you played other sport, but the only sport that really mattered back home was hockey.
Little Jean-Guy Lafleur out there on the streets.
Little Guy, they called me all kinds of names. I was a little chunkier, but they were kind of like that, just a little bit, a little bit. They maybe twisted the word a little bit to put little chunks in there, but it's okay. I felt like Guy Lafleur out there, so I'm okay with it.
As long as you think you're Guy Lafleur.
I thought I was the best. And that's why, actually, I wore number 19, that big rivalry Montreal-Quebec in those days. And as much as I did not like Quebec Nordiques, they had a kid, Joe Sakic, coming up when I was young. and I started imitating how he skated. I wanted to be him so bad, so that's why I always tried to get number 19 growing up in my
So
teams.
it's I don't know if you've ever seen the book. Was it the Lucky Sweater? It's this little children's book set in Montreal where everyone's wearing number 9 for Maurice Richard. It's like set in the 40s, and the kid wears out his Montreal Canadian sweater and he asks for a new one, and he gets a Toronto Maple Leaf sweater. He gets ostracized by the entire community because he's wearing Toronto Maple Leafs.
It is tough. It reminds me a little bit of Peoria. You know, you always have the Cubs, the White Sox, or the St. Louis Cardinals in Peoria, like we're right in the middle. That's a little bit how it was we had about 80% it was all Montreal Canadian, 20% went Quebec Nordiques. So you were either on one side or the other, and you could not wear a jersey of the other team, that's for sure.
One thing you definitely couldn't wear, you couldn't wear a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. Otherwise you get from both sides.
No, you couldn't. But in Quebec, when you were young, you know, we didn't grow up. We had probably 3 channels on the TV. So, you know, you would only get Montreal Canadian games. And if you're a Quebec fan, you probably had to order special channels, which we didn't do at the Trudel household. We had our 3 channels and happy with that. And but I was lucky enough. My dad would always let me stay up on Saturday nights to watch hockey night in Canada, and you know, it was always fun to, of course, watch your favorite team. And so yeah, we grew up that way. It was just hockey all the time.
How old were you when you went to your first professional hockey game, and was it at the Forum?
Well, that's a good question. My first NHL game, I played in it.
Really?
Yeah, I got called up. I'd never been to an NHL game before that.
Really?
Yeah, Montreal was about 7 hours from home, and like I said, we didn't have tons of money, and so we never been to an NHL game. Actually, no, I'm lying. You're right. My first NHL game, the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. Our team, we won the Quebec Pee Wee tournament in front of 17,000 people, which was phenomenal. But during those 2 weeks, it's a 2-week tournament. It's a big tournament. And we actually went to watch Mario Lemieux against the Quebec Nordiques.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got to see Mario Lemieux, and that was my first experience. I forgot about that one. And after that, my next one was when I played.
Was that Quebec Nordiques team, that wasn't the one with Joe Sakic?
No, that was the team with Peter Stastny, Dale Hunter, all those old school guys. They still had a phenomenal team. But I remember Mario scored 4, and I couldn't believe what he was doing. He never back-checked. He stayed at the far blue line and just waited for breakaways. So we're like, what the? But he was so talented that he scored 5. I think Pittsburgh won like 8-4. So it was fun for the fans. A lot of goals.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds fantastic. That old school hockey. And was that was in Quebec City?
It was the Quebec Colisée.
The Colisée, yeah.
Colisée, Quebec, yeah. It was a big old school arena, but you know, they still fit like, you know, 16, 17,000 in there. And it was fun for a young 12-year-old to have a chance to see your first NHL game. And Mario Lemieux, for us as French Canadian guys, Mario Lemieux was, it was the big deal. So it was kind of really, really cool. And then I remember we won the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. Then we jumped on the school bus and we did 10 hours back home right after. So yeah, just different time, but great experience for a young man.
Do you think the kids nowadays don't get the same experiences, or do you think they get different experiences that have similar impacts on their lives?
They get too many experiences. I think we're at the point where every parent, what they didn't have, kind of give them to their kids now. So those kids, I don't know if they appreciate, because they get so many of them, of great experiences. And I don't know if they appreciate it as much as, like I said, once in your lifetime we went to an NHL game. You know, everything you did, you kind of had to earn. It wasn't just given all the time. And I think sometimes when you get everything you want all the time, you know, you're not building really character. And that's the biggest problem, is I feel like they do get all the experience, but a little bit too much, instead of, you know, getting it once every, you know, Christmas or something like that. You know, a lot of our kids at youth hockey, I see them all the time. Oh, I went to see a Chicago Blackhawk game. Oh, I went to see this. And I'm like, man, do you guys realize how lucky you are that your parents are? And I don't think it's kind of because they get so many of them. You know what I mean?
Right. You don't see kids like playing out in the street anymore. Like I did that a little bit when I was young. I played out in the driveway, played out in the street a little bit, but you don't see that anymore.
Well, no, you got technology, you got video games.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, It's not the same, and that's how you built your skill. I mean, I remember every single night we'd come home from school, go on the street. You had dinner we had bells. So at dinner at 5 p.m. and you had to sit for 30 minutes, even if you were done your meal. But all these little things kind of made you understand that you couldn't wait to go play outside again.
Yeah.
And then you'd go out until darkness and you'd play every single day. And it builds your skill because you're in a small, compact area, and that's how they build soccer players back in Europe. They put them in small areas, and you have to learn to protect the puck better. You have to, dig the guy way faster hands, and unfortunately, kids don't do it anymore. And that's where, you think about basketball, you think about baseball. In those days, I wasn't a basketball player, but when we decided one afternoon we were playing 5 hours outside, so you're building a lot of skills that you don't have a chance in practice. Only for, a lot of teams, most teams in hockey right now, youth hockey, only practice 3 hours a week. And 3 hours, you don't have time. You could build that 3 hours of skill in 3 hours one night playing outside with your buddies. So it's a different time. So that's why skill coaches right now are more important because kids don't do enough on their own.
Right. And how do, as say, a youth hockey coach, bringing this back into the kids, because it is all about the kids this week, if you haven't picked up on the theme. How do, as youth hockey coaches, do you kind of implement and have kids work on those skills outside of the rink, or at least encourage them to?
Yeah, we give them challenges like shooting 500 pucks at home, or or doing things like that. But that again, you have to have a place to shoot the puck, and like you said, they don't play outside much. So some kids do it, and usually they're your best kids in the organization. The kids that do more outside or at home or work on their stick handling, and unfortunately, there's so many things out there like. That's another thing too. When we played sport, we were athletes, but we also just focus on one sport at a time. Like if it was hockey season, you played hockey. If it was summer, you played something else all summer. But you still had sports all day, but you got really good at implementing that one sport for a 6-month period of time. Instead of now you have kids that are missing practice because they have basketball. Another kid's missing a month because they have soccer. So yes, you want them to be athletes. But again, if you miss 20 hours of practice in a month, again, you're behind 20 hours. So it's all little things that are completely different. And it doesn't change that it can make great hockey players. It's just a matter of now skill coach and things outside is more important than kids just playing on their own in the streets or playing on their own in their gyms and stuff like that.
Speaking of shooting hockey pucks, in your day, how many light bulbs, windows, or roofs did you put holes in?
We actually were really lucky. I always say I grew up in a village of 1,000 people, a very small village, but the streets, the tennis courts, and we had a great little community kind of gym, and it was open every night. So because it get like minus 40 at night sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So we'd go play indoor like gym hockey kind of thing. So we always had a place to play all the time. So we were very fortunate. So I didn't have to shoot at home. I always shooting pucks somewhere either. So we always had, and usually my big thing was my driveway. I had my net and stuff, so I'd shoot in the driveway. Then you always bring your net wherever you're going to play. So if we'd say, okay, we're playing on Fifth Avenue at school, then at 5 p.m. everybody would bring their nets and stuff, and we'd play on Fifth Avenue, and that was our street to play hockey. So it was completely different, but I was lucky growing up in a small village that we always had room and places to play that we didn't have to shoot at home.
Yeah, I didn't get that similar experience growing up. I was in a bigger suburb of Chicago, first suburb west of the city, so I basically had the driveway. I can't tell you how many holes I put in my mom's garage door. It was bad.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. That's how you learn, and parents have to accept it. That's what hockey parents are all about.
My dad too. The worst one was we were shooting inside the garage because my mom made us stop shooting outside. My dad and I stopped shooting outside the garage, made us go inside the garage with a net so we wouldn't break anything. Well, you know who missed the net so high, it went straight up, hit the light bulb dead center. Broke it. And it's like, oh, how do we explain this to Mom?
I had that with Tristan too. So that,
how many nets did he break, or how many things did he break?
I became smart. I bought him a big tarp, and we had this perfect area in the basement. So the tarp was 12 by 12. Took the whole wall, built it off the wall. He still broke some light bulbs, but not like nothing in the walls and stuff. So it's kind of we found the perfect spot at home. Yep.
That's awesome. How has it been seeing him progress from junior hockey to professional hockey, and just how much of a sponge he's become? Because whenever I ask people, including yourself, about Tristan Trudel, they always say he's a sponge. He wants to get better and learn. taking the coach aside, which I know is hard for you to do sometimes, especially in this building, but how satisfying is it to see his growth in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, this year he's grown a lot. Starting this summer, he trained with Hags and he did a lot. And I still, like a lot of players, I see he's a sponge. I see he wants to get better, but I still don't think he's obsessed with the process. To be a real pro and to move up and to play at high levels, hockey has to be 100% on your brain all the time. And that's what I'm trying to teach him. And like I do with a lot of my players, we try to make sure they understand that we're lucky enough to play this game for 7 months a year.
Yep.
So we got to be obsessed with the process of getting better. And that means when people are not looking, that's where you get the job done. And I still don't see enough. So we talk about it every day. I think he made tremendous strides. I still think his ceiling is a lot higher if he decides to put it all together and actually, like we talk about, just being obsessed with every single day getting better. And once he hits that degree, I think at 6'5", and what we understand now that he's pretty tough also. So that gives you an opportunity to have a little bit more room. And at 6'5", nobody can teach 6'5". So it's just a matter of like those guys, him, like those young guys, Kennedy and stuff like that, to become obsessed with the process of being the best. And once you do that, it is going to take time, but you're giving yourself a chance to move up levels and play at higher levels.
And how much does the coachability of the player having to go into taking that advice, running with it, and turning it into tangible results on the ice?
I don't want to seem rude, but at the pro level, you don't have a choice to be coachable or you're gone. It's a one-day contract, and I'm too old to have guys that are not coachable. Yeah. We're here for one reason, is for the Rivermen as a team to have the most success possible. And if you do that usually individually, you have tons of success. So if you're not coachable, you're not going to be a Riverman very long.
No, that's usually been the theme that I've noticed the last couple of years. So.
Yeah, we have a certain culture. We want good people that want to learn every day. And even our older guys like Hags and stuff like that, they work every single day. They want to get better. So it's just easy for a coach to kind of continue with that culture when you have a great leadership group that pushes guys every day.
Well, the Rivermen are going to have to be pushed this Thursday when they're taking on the high-flying Quad City. I want to bring it back to this Thursday at morning game because that's the start of a 3-3. And 2 of those 3 games, you're facing a Quad City team that is really, really feeling it right now. #1 special teams unit in the SPHL. What is it about Quad City right now compared to maybe at the beginning of the year that poses a unique challenge?
Well, they've always been talented, and I think they played 12 of their 14 games at home. So that makes a big difference. If you look at specialty units, our power play is 30% at home.
Yep.
Completely different on the road.
Exactly.
So when you have that nice schedule, you haven't traveled yet. They only traveled to Peoria and Evansville. So it's a nice schedule right now. They're fresh and they're big. I always say they had a lot of talent at the beginning of the year. It's about bringing it all together. And now their big guys are scoring. And that makes a big difference. But for us, it's the same challenge as everybody else. We know they're playing well right now, but we feel like we're playing pretty well also. You look at that 1-0 game on the road, we had, 39 shots, 15 on Instat, it said. So, and then I thought we had great chances. And so for me, I never get too stressed if a team's really hot or not really hot. I just look at what we have to do, and we'll have a little pre-scout on them and then see what happens. But we feel pretty confident about our group.
Well, it should be a fantastic Thursday regardless. Again, the Rivermen taking on the Quad City Storm for their annual education game at 10:30 a.m. this Thursday. Over 8,000 plus expected, over 90 schools, some coming as far away as Toledo, Illinois, 2.5 hours south.
I think that's a great job by the office staff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great experience for the kids, and we can't wait to just play in front of them.
Steph Leverton's been really killing it up on the front office, as is the entire Rivermen front office group. So it should be an electric atmosphere. I can't wait, Guy. I know you can't wait either, even though it's an early morning, but you're one of those guys who likes to get up early. So
I'm good with that. I have no problem, and we'll be ready to go. And I know we've been through a lot of these with these guys, so they know what to expect. And like I said, you do your best to get the body and the mind ready early, and then you can take a nice nap after.
Oh, looking forward to it. Guy, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you again on
Thanks,
Thursday.
Rob. Appreciate it, buddy.
For Rivermen head coach John Guy Trudel, I'm Jason Ruff. This has been Trudel's Take, presented by Premier Epoxy.